Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. Run now! I'll stop him! Lee dashed out to stop Will, allowing Luna to escape. The storm over Los Angeles that night was nothing compared to the cyclone that ripped through the Spencer, Forrester, and Ozo families as Lee Finnegan's piercing voice rang in the marble-floored corridor of the beach home. Run immediately! I'll stop him! And with those 5 desperate words, everything changed. Luna Nozoa, trembling with tears streaming down her cheeks, clutched the strap of her torn silk dress and bolted through the glass doors into the moonlit darkness, her heart pounding like a war drum against her chest as the Pacific wind whipped her hair into a frantic halo, while behind her the furious thunder of Will Spencer's footsteps threatened to catch up, the boyish air no longer the naive romantic, but a man on fire with betrayal, and the scent of retribution in his nostrils after discovering the tangled web of lies, deceit, and manipulation that had entangled him with Luna in ways that could destroy not just their futures, but the very alliances their families had built. Lee, ever the orchestrator of clandestine decisions, knew she was crossing a dangerous line by physically interposing herself between Will and the open doorway, her arm pressed out like a barricade, her eyes flashing with the kind of maternal ferocity she had once reserved for her son Finn when Sheila Carter lurked like a viper in their lives, and in that instantly felt the same old tremor of power. This was not just about saving Luna from immediate arrest or humiliation. It was about preserving a long-term plan she had constructed in the shadows, a plan that involved Luna's survival, escape, and perhaps even reinvention after the scandals, the deception, and the accusations of switching Electra's child, the whispers that she had faked her own death as she once had nearly faked Finn's demise, the murmurs that she was being controlled, manipulated, or perhaps harboring an evil twin named Rana who had gone rogue. The hallway erupted with raised voices, Hope Logan, clutching her phone with trembling fingers, debating whether to call Ridge Forrester or Bill Spencer, Steffi, barefoot from racing down the stairs, demanding to know why Lee was helping Luna when just weeks earlier she had insisted the girl was a danger to everyone, a ticking bomb of secrets inherited from Poppy Nozoa. Finn, torn between his oath as a doctor, his loyalty to his adoptive mother, and the unresolved guilt he carried over Liam Spencer's brain tumor misdiagnosis scandal that had almost cost a man's life and a father's peace, watched with a jaw clenched tight enough to crack. Outside, Luna ran, her sandals flying off somewhere near the cliff path, the moon lighting her escape route as though destiny itself were granting her one more chance at survival. And as she ran, flashes of memory assaulted her. The night of deception with Will, the scent of Electra's perfume on her own skin as she executed the cruel plan to sabotage their love, the pregnancy scare, the police interrogation, the whispered threats from Sheila Carter who, strangely enough, had promised to protect her if only she would play her part in the great unraveling of the Forrester-Spencer empire. Will roared like a betrayed lion, shoving past Lee's outstretched arm, but Lee was faster than he expected, grabbing his jacket, pleading in a voice only a mother who had buried secrets could muster. "Don't do this, Will. You do not know the whole truth." And he didn't, since the reality was as thick as the pages of a sealed medical file. Luna had been set up, or had she? Was she predator or prey? Was Rana the one who whispered in her ear that night, or was it just the ghost of Luna's wounded conscience? Bill Spencer stormed into the scene moments later, having been summoned by a cryptic text from Hope, his presence electric with the kind of paternal fury that only Bill could bring. A man who had once kidnapped his own son from a hospital to save his life, now watching history threaten to repeat itself with a different son, a different girl, a different kind of betrayal. Lee knew that if Luna were caught now, everything she had sacrificed, her license, her integrity, her do not stop. And Luna did, crashing through the brush until the ocean spray kissed her face and the sound of police sirens wove into the coastal wind. And with each stride she felt the weight of the entire bold and the beautiful universe press upon her. Ridge and brook locked in their eternal dance of love and betrayal across an ocean in Italy, Taylor simmering in her jealousy and desperation. Ivy Forrester returning, like a ghost from the past with knowledge that could either exonerate Luna or doom her. Sheila hovering in the background, like a dark angel strangely seeking redemption. And Liam Spencer, half recovered, half changed, watching from a hospital bed on the cliffside estate, wondering whether the woman he once defended was victim or villain. Lee's gamble tonight would ripple for years, for in stopping Will she did more than allow a girl to escape. She sparked a war between families, between truth and loyalty, between the past sins of mothers and the future scars of daughters, and as the night deepened and the cliffside became a scene of flashing lights, hushed threats, and whispered alliances, one thing became certain. This was no longer just about a runaway girl and a furious heir. It was about who controlled the narrative, who decided who was innocent and who was guilty, and who among them all was willing to cross the ultimate line to rewrite destiny in their favor. As Luna stumbled further down the rocky path, the lights of the city glimmering below like a promise of temporary safety, her breath rasping in her throat and her mind reeling with questions she could no longer separate from nightmares. How had everything come to this point, where her own Aunt Lee, once her harshest critic, the same woman who had nearly destroyed her for daring to be with R.J. Forrester, was now the one shielding her from Will Spencer's wrath, screaming to the heavens for her to run while the house behind them erupted into a storm of masculine shouts and the sharp click of high heels. As Steffi appeared in a silk robe, phone pressed to her ear, demanding Ridge intervene from Italy, her voice trembling not from fear for Luna, but from the sickening realization that if this scandal became public, Forrester Creations' fragile truce with Spencer Publications would be obliterated overnight. Will, flushed and furious, his blazer torn where he had clawed it, stormed onto the patio with Bill at his heels. Bill's face a mask of both disappointment and determination. He was no stranger. To betrayal he had weathered worse from Brooke, Katie, even Liam. But this was his youngest, the one he thought would rise without scars, now left in the cold night with a soul full of poison, thanks to a girl who might or might not have ever loved him. And Bill's mind raced. If Luna had switched that child, as Electra claimed, if she had deceived Will at that fateful party, then the Spencer name was being dragged through the mud for sport. Lee's voice, sharp as a scalpel, cut through the madness. "Stop this, Bill! Stop it, Will. You have no idea what you're heading into. Luna isn't your enemy." And in that instant the room fell eerily quiet as all eyes turned to her, the woman who once faked her own son's death to protect him, who had locked herself in a burning room to keep secrets, who had harbored Luna despite knowing the storm she carried. And in that breathless pause even Steffi faltered, her usual defiance flickering into doubt, because if Lee was this desperate, maybe there was more at stake than just a love triangle gone wrong. But what was not the boy you know what she did to? Me. You all let it happen. You let her damage Electra. You let her infect my life like a plague, and now you're helping her flee. And Lee, cold now, met his rage with a look that only mothers of sons know, a look that says you don't yet understand the lengths we go to when the system is rigged against the truth. In the meantime, Luna reached the edge of the cliff road, headlights in the distance promising either rescue or disaster, and she ducked behind a cypress tree, clutching the locket Finn had once given her. Had he known? Had he taken part in this twisted game? Her tears blurring the horizon as memories bled into each other. Poppy's whispered warnings, Sheila's chilling embrace when the walls closed in, the taste of champagne the night of the deception, Will's soft voice before it turned sharp, the child she thought she carried, the ultrasound Lee insisted was fake, the police report she never signed. Back at the house, Hope made a decision that would ripple through every faction. She pressed call on Carter. Walton's number, not it's happening again. Lee's hiding something. Will's out of control, Luna's gone. And across town Carter dropped his pen, knowing that when the Logans called in the middle of the night, it meant something bigger than passion or contracts. And still Lee stood firm, blocking the pathway with the determination of a woman who had once taken on Sheila Carter and lived to tell the tale, her mind a maelstrom of calculations. If Luna was caught tonight, she would sing, and if she sang, Poppy would fall, and if Poppy fell, The chain would lead back to Lee's own experiments in medical deception, the same ones that had nearly killed Liam Spencer when Grace Buckingham's forged MRI scans were exposed. The wind howled, the surf roared, and somewhere on that cliff a girl held her breath. A boy plotted revenge, a father readied his sword, and a mother made a choice that would haunt them all, because "Run now, I'll stop him" was not just a plea, it was a contract, a turning point, a declaration that Lee Finnegan was once again willing to burn the rulebook and rewrite destiny, even if it meant dragging every Spencer, Logan, Forrester, and Ozawa into the fire with her. Luna's legs burned as the uneven cliffside path narrowed, her lungs clawing for air against the cold ocean mist that cut like knives across her cheeks. But she dared not stop, not with the echo of Will's rage still reverberating from the beach house above, not with the sound of distant sirens swelling like the tide, not with the image of Lee's outstretched hand, rigid, commanding, almost maternal, seared into her mind as a shield between her and the man she once thought might save her, might even love her, before everything curdled into this nightmare. Down the slope, the coastline opened into a secluded service road used only by supply vans for the Forrester Cliff estate, and there in the pale wash of moonlight stood a black SUV with its headlights off, engine idling, door slightly ajar, and Luna froze. Was it friend or foe? Her mind flashed to all the players in this deadly game. Bill Spencer, with his empire and his vengeance, who would spare no resource to find her. Ridge, far away in Italy but never truly absent, pulling strings through lawyers and private pilots. Hope, torn between loyalty to Will and her growing suspicion that something far deeper was being covered up. Steffi, unpredictable as the sea herself, who one moment demanded Luna's imprisonment and the next whispered that maybe, just maybe, she was another pawn in a larger scheme. And then there was Sheila Carter, the name that always crawled at the edge of her conscience, the woman who had offered her sanctuary once before with a sly smile and a whispered promise that all sins can be washed clean if you pick the right side. And now Luna wondered if the SUV in the dark was hers, if this was the moment her fate twisted toward the infamous matriarch of mayhem. Meanwhile, above, Will tore himself free from Lee's grip, his jacket ripped at the shoulder, his voice hoarse as he shouted into the night, "She won't get away this time. Not after what she did to me, Electra, and all of us." And Bill, standing grim-faced at the edge of the terrace, raised a hand to halt the young man, his mind already working 3 steps ahead. If Luna vanished tonight, the media would spin it as a Spencer scandal. If they caught her publicly, it would stain the family further. He needed control, and control meant silence, secrecy, and leverage, tools he wielded better than any sword. Lee stepped forward, her tone low but cutting. "Bill, listen to me. This is not what you think. Luna isn't running because she's guilty. She's running because you made her the villain when the villain might be right under your roof. And for a flicker of a second," Bill's eyes narrowed with curiosity because he knew Lee's history, knew she didn't speak without a purpose, knew she had once played God with life and death when she smuggled Finn from a morgue and faked his death to protect him from Sheila. "Steffi," clutching the robe tighter against her chest, hissed in after everything, "Lee, you will lose everything for this girl. What is she to you? Another project? Is there another patient you can mold?" But Lee's silence was louder than any confession, because in her mind Luna was not just a niece, not just a ward, but a symbol of every failure she had tried to correct, every injustice the Forresters and Spencers had written in their favor, while women like Poppy and Luna were left to scrape together scraps of dignity. Luna darted across the service road, heart hammering, fingers trembling as she gripped the SUV's cold handle, and inside she glimpsed a silhouette. Long dark hair, a glint of gold, a hand beckoning her in, and when the door swung open, she almost fainted. It wasn't Sheila, it wasn't Finn, it wasn't even Poppy. It was Ivy Forrester, freshly returned from Sydney, her eyes sharp as emerald glass and her voice a whisper. "Get in if you want to live!" And in that surreal instant Luna obeyed, because if anyone understood exile, betrayal, and the long road back into the Forrester labyrinth, it was Ivy, the woman who had been cast out, burned, and now returned with secrets of her own. As the SUV peeled away into the fog, Will's voice carried down the cliffside like a curse, and back in the house Hope pressed her hands to her temples, knowing this would not stay contained for long, that by morning this would be in the tabloids, and that by the end of the week every old ghost, from Liam's near-fatal brain tumor hoax to Grace Buckingham's medical fraud, to Sheila's strange acts of redemption, would be dragged into the light, because that is how Los Angeles worked. Sins, buried, always clawed their way back to the surface, and tonight, with 5 words, "Run now, I'll stop him," Lee had not just opened a door for Luna, she had kicked down the wall that kept decades of secrets at bay, and as the waves crashed against the rocks below, the first seeds of the next war in the bold and the beautiful universe were sown in salt and moonlight. Inside the black SUV, the air was thick with adrenaline and the faint scent of salt water as Ivy Forrester kept her eyes on the winding cliff road, her hand steady on the wheel despite the chaos unspooling behind them, while Luna sat in the passenger seat trembling like a porcelain doll about to crack, clutching the seatbelt as though it were a lifeline, her mind spiraling with questions she dared not voice aloud, because in this city, questions often led to betrayals faster than answers ever could. Ivy's profile was calm yet cold, a porcelain mask hiding the fury she had cultivated during her years away in Sydney, where the Forrester name was both a blessing and a curse, and now, back in Los Angeles, she had chosen her first move with surgical precision. Not Ridge, not Steffi, not Hope, but Luna, because Ivy understood that the key to unraveling an empire wasn't always the throne. Sometimes it was the pawn no one protected properly, the one running barefoot under moonlight while Titans roared above. "You don't have much time," Ivy said finally, her accent cutting through the tension like a blade. "They'll have the roads locked down within the hour, and if Bill's already spinning this, you'll be on every screen from here to Genoa City by morning." And Luna, her voice cracking, whispered, "Why are you helping me? I thought you hated me. Everyone does now." To which Ivy only looked at her with a mixture of sympathy and calculation. "I don't hate you, Luna. I despise what they're doing to all of us. You're only the first to fall." Meanwhile, back at the cliffside mansion, the storm intensified. Will had retreated to the study with his father, his face pale but his anger undimmed, his words spilling like gasoline. "She fled because she is guilty. She ran because she knew I had the proof, the messages, the recordings. She switched Electra's child. She lied to my face, and now she's hiding behind me like she's some kind of saint." But Bill, ever the strategist, didn't rise to the bait. He paced like a predator, phone in hand, making calls to his private network. The same network he once used to stage a midnight extraction for Liam when doctors declared him terminal. The same network that erased quietly. Before Ridge, before Brooke, before anyone can twist this into something it isn't. Lee, outside the study door, listened with that sharp surgeon's ear she had honed in corridors far more dangerous than these, her heart a drumbeat of secrets as she sent a coded message to an old contact in San Francisco, someone who still owed her for a night in a clinic basement when Finn's life was slipping through her fingers. Steffi, upstairs, was already drafting a statement for 4, and in the shadows, Sheila Carter lingered by the rocks, watching the flashing lights on the cliff above, a cigarette burning low in her fingers, a smile tugging at the corner of her mouth, because she had seen the SUV leave. She knew where Ivy would take Luna, and she knew that this time redemption might not come from saving Steffi or protecting Finn, but from holding the one secret everyone wanted and delivering it at the precise moment to shatter them all. Down the road they're going to cast you as a monster, will Electra, and even your aunt if she needs to choose survival. But I have a file that Lee is unaware of that demonstrates you were not alone that night. There is someone else. Someone who looks like you, moves like you, but isn't you. And Luna's breath hitched because in her dreams, in the corners of her fractured memory, she had seen her, Rana, the whisper, the shadow, the twin no one spoke of because she was never supposed to exist. "She's real," Luna gasped, and Ivy's eyes gleamed with that dangerous satisfaction only a Forrester with unfinished business could carry. "Oh, she's very real, and if we play this right, she's your salvation or your doom." Back on the cliff, Bill received a text from a blocked number. "You're hunting the wrong girl." His jaw stiffened. Lee pretended not to notice. Steffi noticed and smiled. The game had finally started.